Welcome to the Winden Caves podcast. I'm Bubba.
And I'm Tiny.
And we are going to be going deep, deep, deep into this cave to cover the Netflix German show from Germany, Dark. This episode, we're going to be covering Season 2, Episode 5, Lost and Found, and Season 2, Episode 6, An Endless Cycle. If you have not watched Dark Season 1 and the first 6 episodes of Dark Season 2 on Netflix, pause now, exit the cave, run for your life. You do not want these spoilers. Watch those episodes. If you have to steal somebody's Netflix password, you can probably go back in time and get Jonas's. Watch them, then come back and join us. Whew, Tiny. You know what? We have new double T's.
Time travelers.
Who are true double L's.
Loyal listeners.
And we want to acknowledge them right up top. We are part of Double P Media. You can reach out to us at Double PHQ on Twitter and Instagram. That's the word double, the letter P, and the letters HQ for headquarters. At Double PHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/Double PHQ. Our double T's,
time travelers,
are people who've been kind enough to help us promote the podcast. They're double P's.
What's a double P, Bubba?
Podcast promoters.
Oh, okay, got it.
Who are helping,
of course.
Who are helping us promote this podcast, Winden Caves. Tell your friends and you can join the Double T Time Traveling Club.
Calling all Hannah haters.
Tiny, we have 3 brand new members of the Double T Time Traveler Club. First up is Yup OK. We have W. Axel Foley from the Great DVR Podcast and Holly at Holly Hunt Pants.
Tiny, these episodes are slowly breaking my spirit, but not our double L, double T listeners who are sending us some great feedback. Let's get to it now. You ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to start with a 5-star review on iTunes from Yup OK. The title of the review is fantastic, and the review is simply, everything they do is double G. Guaranteed gold. Thank you so much, Yup OK. Please give us a review on iTunes or on Stitcher or however you listen to this podcast. It really does help other people find out about the podcast. And Yup OK, that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, we love it. W. Axel Foley from the DVR Podcast, he wrote, Triple T. He's a thankful time traveler. Oh, that's so good. Holly at Holly Hunt Pants wrote, this show, Dark, is incredible and has set a new bar in quality television. Looking forward to hearing you guys at the end of the season. Hashtag, when is Woller's Eye? Oh, man, that is pretty darn smart. Holly at Holly Hunt Pants on Twitter, always a great follow. And an existing double T, Amy at Amy Home Alone on Twitter, gave us a real nice note. Amy wrote, in the middle of episode 4 of season 2 right now. The flight I'm on wasn't long enough for both 3 and 4. Episode 3 was excellent, I thought. Really loving Egon. Amy, I'm right there with you. I love Egon too. Amy continues, I also got caught up with the podcast after season 1. Tiny cracks me up. Great job. Can't wait to listen to more, and hopefully we find out what the heck is going on. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, everybody, for this feedback. We only do this podcast because we love hearing from you, the people we like to call Double L loyal listeners. If you are listening and want to join the Double T Time Traveler Club, all you have to do is get out there and help us promote the Winden Caves podcast on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, any way and every way. Let your friends know and put Winden Caves in your posting. You guys really are the best podcast audience, and you can tell by reading our subtitles.
Okay, Tiny, that is some great feedback. Listeners, keep sending it in at Double PHQ, Facebook.com/Double PHQ. Tiny, before we break down Episode 5, Lost and Found, Episode 6, An Endless Cycle, tell me, how are you feeling 6 episodes into Season 2 of Dark?
Well, you know, Bubba, we had a loyal listener,
Double L,
last week who said her favorite thing was to watch people try to explain Dark. And I can't help to think that those double L's,
loyal listeners,
ahead of us who have watched the show are probably laughing and making fun of us and all of our terrible theories, and we may be completely off track.
If they are, I hope they have liked and subscribed and keep downloading. Tell all your friends to come laugh at us as we struggle to come up with a coherent, awesome theory for Dark. Tiny, specifically, you were telling me before we started recording that these 2 episodes, you feel like it's really picked up the pace.
I agree. I think things are coming together as they are falling apart.
What a great description. Tiny, I need some hope. I need some help. This entire show, I've been on Team Jonas. Ever since we saw Claudia get into action in her time-traveling ways, I've been on Team Claudia. But through the end of episode 6, I was screaming at the screen, "No, Jonas, don't do what you're doing, Jonas. Claudia, no, Claudia, no." And somehow, it kills me to say it, the show has convinced me that I'm on Team Adam. Team Adam, as we saw at the end of episode 6, has future Magnus, has, I assume, future Franziska. Oh, it kills me to say it, but I think Adam's right. God help me.
Well, Bubba, there's one person you've continued to hate through our whole podcast series, and I think there is no redemption from killing children, and I think you can still hate Noah.
Yes, but I do want to give a shout out to Helga's mother, who I've also kind of really hated. But you're right, Noah, I've hated the whole way through. They seem to be giving Noah some motivation for his evilness. He's been trying to get these final pages, which admittedly, Adam is telling Noah, you've got to find the final pages, because he's trying to connect with his daughter, Charlotte.
I also think that while we are talking about teams, maybe not a hero, but maybe the ultimate victim of the entire show is Michael. I mean, can we feel worse for Michael to find out that he was led to the caves by his son?
Oh, terrible. Oh, and he finally can talk to someone honestly about what's happened to him. It's his son. And they're able to bond, and then his son tells him, yeah, whatever you do, Dad, don't do it. I know what you're going to do. The dad's like, what do you think I'm going to do? Come on, Dad, you're going to kill yourself. Well, I don't think Michael had that thought in his head until Jonas said it. Oh, my God.
Here's the paper you write the note on. If you need a pen, it's right here.
Oh, no, how terrible. Tiny, how terrible. Oh, my Lord, I told you before we started recording, I'm holding on to one small sliver of hope. There's one bit of light that's trickling into these Winden Caves that I'm able to hold on to and think maybe something can save us. And that is Claudia. At the end of episode 6, she tells Jonas, she's like, listen, I've seen a version of this world which you're not in. It's not what you think it would be. She implies that it's terrible and she needs Jonah in it. But if she says that she saw a version of the world without Jonas, I think somehow you could change the past. Of course, changing the past without Jonas would be terrible in her opinion, but it's giving me hope that something can change because so far, every single thing that people try to do just keeps bringing the terrible fate that they've all found themselves in.
Now, we are jumping to the end here, but I think it's very hard to talk about anything else. But at the end, Magnus said to Adam/older Jonas, why didn't you tell him? Why didn't you warn him he would be given this choice so he would know to make a different choice? He already has found out the hard way that he's going to become very deformed in his later years. I mean, what could possibly shock him at this point, and how would it not help him? That's my only concern with Adam, is that he still seems to be playing people a little bit too hard.
I'm with you. Now, there has always been the talk about Adam versus Claudia. There also seems to be the talk of Claudia versus Noah. I think we are also going to be looking at a Noah versus Adam battle. What's crazy is Adam was telling Noah, you got to find the missing pages, you've got to find the missing pages. The way I'm interpreting these last couple episodes is that by finding the last couple of pages, which really shocked Noah to his core, it allowed him to find his daughter, Charlotte, and he's going to think, Adam kept this from me all this time. And so I think there's a three-pronged war coming. It somehow, currently, I'm stuck on Team Adam somehow. Help me, people. Write to me at PHQ. No spoilers for those final 2 episodes, but let us know what we can look or what we could either look forward to or look to the past to or not look forward to in these final 2 episodes.
What do you think Bartosz is up to?
Great question. I somehow am beginning to feel sorry for Bartosz. He was beaten up by his friends, tied up by his friends. He's been doing who knows what for that evil SOB Noah. He's always had a crush, and there was a nice moment where I kind of awkwardly laughed at Bartosz's terrible flirting with Martha. I think he's possibly doomed for a bad fate. I mentioned that one of my outlandish predictions is that Bartosz died in the first scene of season 2 when young Noah killed him. I wish I knew, but somehow this episode did make me feel sorry for poor old Bartosz, who's having a rough time.
I mean, Martha, I guess our inspiration and heroine, is just really cruel.
Cruel to her mom, Katharina. She's cruel as hell to Bartosz. Tiny, before we get in to break down these 2 episodes, we have to do our segment for season 2. That's the shocking family reveal.
This is going to be as shocking to me as to our double L's.
Loyal listeners.
Because I have no idea what Bubba is going to reveal.
Well, we have revealed in our first shocking family reveal that Tiny and Bubba are actually brother and sister.
Hey.
We've also revealed that the strange character who wanders around the periphery of the story, and I'm not talking about Adam or Noah, I'm talking about Cousin Jack, is actually Nephew Jack.
Bum, bum, bum.
So now, the most shocking reveal of all is that Tiny, when people hear this podcast, you will not be here. Where will you be?
I will be in Japan.
Now, what kind of insane time travel trick is this? It's travel. It's time travelers. It's a single T, a traveling trick.
Yeah, I think it's more commercial airline travel.
Okay, certainly. And so while you are there, you will be there with who? You'll be there with Cousin Jack, who's actually a nephew. And you'll also be there with our Claudia, our mother.
You're tying our mother to Claudia.
All right, hold on. Our mother Hannah. Wait, no. Our mother Katharina. Well, probably not. With our mother, Charlotte's mother, whoever that is.
Yeah.
All right, so Tiny, it's time. We're going to have to jump into this. And while we jump into this, I've been trying to figure out what is the best way to jump through this. I don't think in this case it's chronologically.
Well, that's good, since we started at the end of both shows.
Okay, so I think we need to jump to 1987.
That's where a lot of things are going down.
All right, so Ulrich, who has found out his son Micheal is still alive, Ulrich plots his escape. He knocks out a male nurse, he goes to the Kahnwald home, and he sees his son Micheal, who at first doesn't recognize him, but says, there's something familiar about you. Ugh. We cut away, and by the time we see him again, Micheal has brought him juice. They are bonding. Ulrich does the classic thing where he turns the cup upside down. This was the first scene we met Micheal in back in season 1, where he says the question is not
what happened, it's when it happened.
Right. That allows Micheal to realize it's his father. They start bonding. They decide, okay, let's run to the caves. Let's get back to our time. And what happens? The exact same thing that happened to Ulrich when he ran for the caves to get back to his time. The cops catch him and stop him. While Ulrich's being driven away in the police car in 1987, who does he see? His other 2 kids. Oh my God, he sees Magnus and Martha.
Ulrich can't win.
Oh, he cannot win. Oh my Lord. This guy is just gonna go nuts. Oh, so painful for older Ulrich. The other people we spent time with in 1987 is, of course, Claudia. We really, really like Claudia. And she is in 87. She's come back to her time period, and she's looking at her dad's obituary. And she goes to see her dad, Egon, and she okay, in this obituary, Egon dies by himself in his apartment. So she's trying to change the past already. And she says, hey, Dad, why don't you come live with us? I thought that was a great scene. Sadly, I have no faith that it'll work. I love Egon so much, too. I'm on Team Egon, old Egon, but yeah, it just doesn't seem like
it's hard to change the past. Young Egon is a nice guy, too.
Oh, good point. He is. It's just this older Egon who's at the end of his time trying to solve this case that has taunted him for 33 years.
I don't blame Ulrich for being a little upset, but I really don't think everything is happening as Egon's fault.
No, not at all. Great point, Tiny. Claudia, after this moment, she goes into the plant and she sees the former president, the former person in charge, Bernd Doppler, who is, of course, Helgi's dad. And she's asking him, hey, you've shown me these figures about the meltdown that you said happened in the summer of 86. What's going on? And Bernd says, oh, well, that really wasn't a meltdown so much. If you read the figures correctly, we found the God particle in the power plant. Dun, dun, dun.
Is that weird that they call it the same thing that they call it in the future? I mean, I've just never heard of a God particle. That might be me, though.
I think I have heard of it, but I don't want to act like I'm any sort of nuclear scientist either. But I think I've heard of it, and Claudia could be really pushing us all closer to Armageddon, to Doomsday, because she gives from her time machine that she got from her older self. She gives the little piece of the God particle to a scientist and asks him to look into it. I just don't think that's good. Oh, my goodness. Oh, terrible. I should point out that one other character we spent some time with in 87 is Inez, Micheal's adoptive mother. And I still like her, even if she is giving Micheal sleeping pills in hopes that he won't keep running away and won't...
Well, he's probably having nightmares. I think she's doing it out of kindness.
No, that's exactly right. She probably is. Oh my goodness. So that wraps up 87. Still your favorite time period?
Absolutely, I think so. Everybody's likable in 87, right? Except for Noah.
Well, what's funny is I think the only person... Yeah, Noah, any time period you name. But I was going to say the one character who's probably his least likable in 87, but I think Season 2 has kind of redeemed him in this time too, I should say 86, 87, is Helga. Helga in 86 was helping Noah kidnap children. After his terrible accident, he seems to repent against the White Devil, which is, of course, the name of Episode 7. We'll be covering next week here on the Winden Caves. But Helga probably, for me, was the only unlikable character in 87. Oh, that's not true. Katharina's teenage self is really tough.
A little rough around the edges.
A little rough. My goodness. All right. So we're going to talk about the 3 other times they get especially tricky. We're going to be talking about 2020. Then we're going to be talking about 1921. But then we're going to be talking about 2019. Because when we get to the day before Micheal's suicide, oh boy, does it get crazy. So let's go to 2020. Okay, here we go. Jonas is having a dream. And I mean stranger Jonas is having a dream of himself and it's his young self and Martha having sex when suddenly the God particle starts appearing on Martha or in Martha's belly. He wakes up from that and old Jonas is really struck. Or I should say stranger Jonas is really struck. The thing that I didn't realize until his next action really kind of, I was like, why hasn't this happened yet? Finally, stranger Jonas goes to the Nielsen house. Stranger Jonas hasn't tried to see his seemingly lifelong love obsession, Martha, at all, has he?
Well, I think he's trying to save himself heartbreak. He knows that he can't...
Right, fool around with his aunt when she's a teenager and he's no longer a teenager.
Right, so I think he has love for her, but he's trying to be practical and trying to not give himself the temptation to love her more.
But he does leave a necklace for her, a necklace we're going to see that was based around a coin he gave her back the previous year in 2019. So after he breaks into the Nielsen house and puts this necklace on Martha's bed, I do want to point out that Martha the actress has a poster of Macbeth on her wall. That's a sure sign that Martha's definitely into theater a lot. But then he goes back to his home and he asks his mom, Hannah, if she loved his father, Micheal at all. And if she had to choose between his father and Ulrich, who would she choose? And I think by her not answering, he gets an answer that really hurts, huh?
Well, you have, who was it? With the Waller? You have him tell Clausen that nobody understood why Hannah married Micheal because she was so beautiful and nobody saw her with him. And then I really don't understand, and Bubba, you might know, but I don't understand what changed Stranger Jonas's disposition towards his mother. I mean, he went to the Nielsens. Maybe he saw that they were kind of a happy family and started to see his mother as a homewrecker more. Could
remind him of the fact that his mom fooled around with Ulrich, possibly. So far, I don't believe we've seen, I'm going to leave Adam out of this, but I don't believe we've seen either Jonas or Stranger Jonas know about the fate of Ulrich, his grandfather. I would imagine he does. Stranger Jonas does, but we haven't seen that. But yeah, he's really, really tough. Let's briefly talk about Alexander, and who's asking the cop on his payroll, Waller, in 2020 to stop Task Force Clausen from looking into the power plant. He goes home, and Regina points out that Bartosz didn't come home last night. Like you have wisely pointed out in last week's podcast, Bartosz, he got tied up just like his mom did and left out in the wilderness for a whole night.
Family tradition.
Yeah, the old Tiedemans.
Tied up by the Nielsens.
Yeah, the Tiedemans get it, that's for sure. So we see Magnus, Martha, Franziska, and Elizabeth go into the cave. Who is watching them go in the cave? The person I hate the most, Noah. Now, Noah doesn't stop them going into the cave like he did Micheal. So, obviously, Noah is allowing this to happen. They find Bartosz, they tie him up. As you pointed out, Martha is especially cruel. This man used to be her boyfriend till a day or two ago.
Right.
Bartosz says, I'm not allowed to tell you. Okay, I've suffered for about 5 more minutes. It's a time machine. Then Bartosz shows them how it works. They travel to 87, see some old police cars, freak out, and then return home where Martha finds the necklace. But also, on their way to the caves, their mom, Katharina, tried to stop them, to show them the picture of Micheal, their brother. And Martha was too mean then, too. She said, where have you been, Mom? You haven't been with us. You have been off in some crazy world. We can't talk to you right now.
You came late to my play.
She came on stage during the play. Oh, my goodness. Oh, those kids are some tough kids, but we know somehow Magnus and, once again, I assume Franziska are going to be doing some time traveling because they're going to end up back in 1921. But, it is tough to see these families come apart. Let's follow up on Katharina herself. She asks to see the time machine. She's like, Hannah, show me this time machine. I want to see my son. And she's still not exactly on Team Hannah. She mentions that Hannah slept with her husband and her son.
Her husband and her grandson?
No, Jonas is her grandson.
Son. Right. Got it. Sorry.
Of course, she says Ulrich would never choose you, Hannah. He would always choose his family.
I think she's right.
I think she's right, too, but I also fear that phrasing might come back to haunt all of them. I should point out that Task Force Clausen interviewed Hannah, and he knows that Alexander's still paying Hannah, even though she stopped working as a physical therapist for him. Just another thing to keep in the back of your mind as Task Force Clausen gets minimally closer to the end result. The final big thing to happen in 2020 happens around Charlotte. We've already learned from her that she doesn't know who her parents are. She asks Stranger Jonas if he knew her parents. He said no, but he knew her grandfather, the clockmaker. We've seen them talk to each other. Charlotte goes to the clock shop looking for clues. How can my grandfather be tied up in all this? When who shows up? Daddy's home.
Noah, the only person who doesn't age past 1987, shows up. And the interesting thing, other than the big revelation, which I will tell our double L's,
loyal listeners,
that Bubba predicted this. I can't remember if it was on the air or when we were just talking about the show, but he predicted this.
Well, it wasn't that hard if you were thinking, well, what eligible men could be Charlotte's father? I have to be honest, the only option, he was one of two options. Jonas was the other.
What about our friend in the trailer?
Betty! Sure, he possibly could have as well.
The bigger question brought up after Bubba had already predicted that Noah was the father was, who is the mother? And Noah says, she still loves you. So I would assume this is somebody still alive in 2019.
Oh boy, I'm not sure I'd make that guarantee, but I think in some timeline she's still alive. And my prediction there, as terrible as this is to say, is that it's Martha Nielsen. Oh, let's not go too deep down that rabbit hole because it'll just depress me again. Noah, once again, he points out that Adam knew, Jonas knew, and Noah says he has to end Adam so everyone can live. Noah's trying to live up to his namesake, Noah. He's got to do a big act to save all life.
So you going back to the theory that Bartosz is Noah?
No. I'm going to some crazy theory that somehow Noah, to destroy Adam Jonas, is going to send his younger self to seduce, wed, and bed Martha. Oh.
I mean, Martha seems available now.
Of course, you would think middle-aged Noah would know that his younger self did that for some reason. Maybe he's going to find out the reason he did it was to get revenge on Adam Jonas. All right. We got 2 more timelines left, Tiny. Are you ready to continue with this insane cave?
I don't think we can stop now.
In 1921, Adam tells Jonas some weird things. The whole show's weird, but he tells him that he has 99 years left. Whoa, how many cycles? I assume that means 3 cycles have to go before we can get to this last cycle. Jonas sees Adam, and what's Adam laid out for him? His original, the OG yellow jumper. He's dressing himself as he used to dress. Adam says a man lives 3 lives. His first life ends when he loses his naiveness. His second life ends with his loss of innocence. And his third life ends at his loss of life. We have 3 Adams right now. Has youngest Jonas, has he lost his naivety?
At what point do you change your name? That is the bigger question.
Maybe you do something terrible as stranger/middle-aged Jonas and lose your innocence. And then say, oh, I got to change my name because I can't keep going on by Jonas. Ugh. Now, Adam, he's holding out hope too. He points out that there is a loophole. And Adam says it took him 66 years to find the loophole. In the future, there's a prophecy about sic mundus leading to paradise. But Adam says no. He's going to war with time, and time is the equivalent of God. Adam tells his younger self, Jonas, he says, listen, you would never say the things that I'm saying, but you've got to accept these things as true. Jonas asks Adam, well, why, if you've been doing this all this time, has nothing changed? We don't get an answer to that, do we, Tiny?
No, because we still don't know if anything can at all be changed. I mean, I think, and you're getting here, I'm sure, and we keep talking about this, but if young Jonas, or maybe a year older Jonas, is the one who leads his dads to the cave, can anything really be undone?
God, I hope so. Time, I hope so. Whatever it takes. Claudia, I hope so. Jonas, I hope so. Adam, I hope so. Everybody but evil Noah. I hope somebody... I've called it out. Hope, Egon, you're going to survive this, even though we know the worst things happen to good men. So, they meet in 1921, the God particle. Or I should say, a twin to the God particle. Adam tells Jonas it will take him to the place he wants to go most, the day before his father committed suicide. He tells his younger self, Jonas, if you succeed, we will reorder the entire world. But then, of course, at the very end, we see Magnus, and the person I keep saying, watch this be wrong, is Franziska. They come in, and they are upset that Adam didn't tell Jonas the truth of what was going to happen.
Yeah, definitely a strategy misstep, I believe. But maybe Jonas wouldn't have believed him. Maybe that's why. That's why all these people try to keep time travel to themselves, is they think nobody will believe them. but I think Jonas would have been a little bit better prepared with a little bit of information ahead of that trip.
All right, let's get to the final episode, the final day, June 20th, 2019, the day before Micheal commits suicide. Now, Micheal's not doing great. He doesn't want to go with his wife to the party at the Nielsens. I think that makes perfect sense. He says he has to finish his painting, but then from the upstairs window, he sees his parents and his younger self right outside. His younger self comes in to use the restroom, and he starts listening to his younger self, and then he almost freaks out when he sees his younger self.
I don't blame him. I mean, it's a little bit far-fetched that he wouldn't have seen him before, but still, I mean, this might contribute to what he's planning to do or what the seed Jonas plants later for him to do.
Yes, so painful. Now, Jonas, and I should point out, we're going to be saying Jonas an awful lot in this, and I don't even know how to describe it, except to say OG original Jonas and then time-traveling Jonas. But OG original Jonas is going to the lakes with his crush Martha and his two buddies Magnus and Bartosz. While they're down there, and while the three except Jonas are swimming, Bartosz starts to tell the story of the woman who drowned in the lake, and it's just a spooky story to freak out Martha so that when Magnus pulls her down, she'll have an extra shock. But I'm starting to worry if the story of the woman who drowns in the lake might be true.
If it is true, my prediction there is that it's Egon's wife.
Oh, that's a great prediction.
Because we don't see her later.
We only have seen her in the timeline we saw her, 1953/1954, and both, as time moves forward in that time area. Now, Jonas is down with his crush. He finds a coin of St. Christopher, the patron saint of travelers, and he gives it to his girl. And they have a very romantic moment when OG Jonas says, "Oh, hey, Martha, I really, really, really have to go help my grandma." What are you doing in 2019, Jonas?
Bubba, everybody has to pay their dues helping their grandma with the internet.
Oh, man, if you say so. So, okay, time-traveling Jonas, shortly before this, he steps out of the church. He sees Katharina, Ulrich, and his father. And, of course, they think he's 2019 Jonas. He fist bumps with his father. Oh, he goes and he watches his slightly younger self have a moment on the beach with Martha. And then this I kind of love. Time-traveling Jonas is the one who starts the romantic feelings, who actually makes the first real romantic move to kiss Martha when he says, "Listen, we're perfect for each other." And so him kissing Martha kind of turned their relationship intimate. And yet time-traveling Jonas knows Martha is his aunt, Tiny. You seem to just be totally fine with this. Why does Jonas, who now has known for quite a while that Martha is his aunt, why does he go in for that kiss?
I think he feels like, in his mind, he's going to stop everything from happening. He's going to never exist. So why not throw a flyer out there and have a dream come true?
You and I are perfect for each other, he says. Never believe anything else. Jonas then goes and sees his father. He tells his father, "Dad, I know everything." This is time-traveling Jonas. Jonas and his father have this discussion. Jonas is here to stop his dad's suicide, and as I've already mentioned, I don't think his dad was going to commit suicide. Jonas finds out from his father that he's the one who brought Micheal through the cave. Oh my God, Jonas, why?
And of course, Adam had dressed him to perfectly do that again.
Micheal realizes that maybe he's supposed to kill himself and that he's just a part of a giant machine. Claudia shows up and she tells Jonas to not listen to his older self, Adam, but he has to fight himself. Once again, she says, "My only glimmer of hope," she says, "I've seen the world without you." Jonas and Claudia leaves, but Micheal goes up and starts writing that letter. Oh!
Team Micheal, the unsung hero of, talk about rolling with things. He's really just been, I don't think there's anyone who's been through anything worse.
No. Oh, my God. So terrible. Now, there is a party that night at the Nielsens. What a fun party.
80s theme.
They're at the Nielsen house. Katharina and Ulrich are partiers, are they not? They got 3 kids, but it doesn't matter. They are going to be partying. They both drink the champagne from the bottle.
They've been the cool kids since 1987.
Now, Peter decided to not go with his wife to the party. Hannah going to get Micheal to go to the party. What we have seen is that at this point, a day before her husband commits suicide, Hannah and Ulrich have been flirting an awful lot. And at the end of this party, I'm going to believe they finally let their flirting go to the next step. What I would ask you is, how would Hannah continue with this if, okay, I stepped out, I kissed some man, I made out with a man who wasn't my husband, then the next day my husband killed himself. Why does she end up continuing this relationship with Ulrich?
It's always been her plan. She's been waiting for years. Maybe that's why she, quote, settled for Micheal, because Ulrich was taken.
Oh, so tough. Now, original OG Jonas is there to see his girl Martha. They go up to her room. She shows him the necklace she made out of the coin she found. And Martha says, we don't talk about how dark can actually make us laugh. This made me laugh an awful lot. Martha, I thought about what you said at the lake. Jonas, about my grandma on the internet? No, you moron, what your older self said. And Jonas and Martha, before they know that they're related, or Jonas knows they're related, have a moment of love up on the bed. Now, the final bit here is that Charlotte and Peter, their marriage is ruined. Peter didn't go to the party at the Nielsens. He goes to hang out with Bene, and he's witnessed by his daughter Franziska. I should point out that Franziska was skinny dipping in the lake, and this is perhaps where Magnus began his infatuation with the girl who would be his pretty much main squeeze, seemingly for the rest of time. Right.
Again, not a lot of options in Winden.
Well, when you see a naked girl in a lake at that age, when you're, acting a bit younger, and they put a real funny wig on Magnus to make him look more like his younger self, sure, you'd be a crush on her. I'd say, I am no longer age appropriate for Martha, but when she came out of the lake all dripping wet, I was like, Jonas, you made a good call here, buddy. That's one sexy aunt.
That's what he was thinking, too.
Tiny, where can we go? We have 2 more episodes left. The next episode is titled The White Devil. That's got to be a Noah-centric episode, I assume. And then the final episode of Season 2 is called The Beginnings and the Endings, a almost palindrome of the first episode title, The Endings and the Beginnings.
Before we watched these last 2 episodes, I was really thinking, how are they going to stretch this out to a 3rd season? Seems like it's kind of coming to a point, coming to an end. But now, I think we could go 20 more.
We could go... Well, hold on, we've done 2, so we could go 31 more seasons in this cycle.
Yeah. Well, 33 seasons for a cycle. I think that makes sense.
Will we, Tiny, learn the identity of Charlotte's mother?
Oh, I think no.
Right, you got to leave some things hanging.
That's right, yeah.
How about this? Will we see Armageddon, the end of the world?
I think also no.
Ooh, okay. I believe if the timing is correct, and I've kind of been lost on this a couple times, I believe the world is going to end in 2 days from where we are now, so possibly that's the big cliffhanger at the end of Season 2. Listeners, write to us at DoublePHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ. We want to know what you think will happen in these final 2 episodes, and once again, no spoilers. Or actually, probably you can send spoilers by the time you hear this. I probably will have watched those last 2 episodes. Tiny, how about this? What do you want to have happen?
I think we will have some clarity on which team we should be on.
Oh,
I think, the best that we can hope for, and what this season has been leading to is clarification on who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. That would be very satisfying for me to get settled, and then we go into Season 3 and see the battle that you talked about earlier.
Oh, man, is it going to be tough to see this show, to leave this show and have to wait what we assume is another year for it to premiere and to find out the final fates at the end of the final cycle. for all our heroes, even if they keep screwing up and causing their own problems. Oh, my goodness gracious. For everyone here at Double P Media, we only do these podcasts because we want to hear from you, our double L's.
Loyal listeners.
And so write to us at Double PHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/Double PHQ. If you can help us promote the Winden Caves podcast, you'll become a Double T.
Time traveler.
And admittedly, after seeing Dark Seasons 1 and 2, you may not want to be a Double T.
Hey, give it a spin.
For everyone here, my name's Bubba.
And I'm Tiny.
And we'll see you the next time we go deep. Deep, deep, deep. Where are we going, Tiny?
Into the caves.